This is WPSL Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast.
The views expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of WPSL. However, we're the ones who've encouraged you all along to like and share them on your favorite social media and with all your friends and neighbors, because it's time now for Joanne's World of Nutrition, brought to you by Nutrition World and hosted by Joanne Seeger.
Good morning, everybody. And how is everyone doing today? All right, so happy Wednesday morning. Are we all good? All
Sure,
right.
Burt's with us. I see him.
Yep, okay, great. All right, some excitement in the studio this morning. All right, so we are here, and it's that time of the month when I have my favorite guest on, Burt Goulding Jr. You will know him as the positive nutrition, silica guys, cell power, the vitamin C, like many, many things that we discuss here. But the premise of the show is always to educate you, maybe hopefully plant a seed of something you didn't know when you woke up this morning. That is always the goal. We really, of course, I have to support my store, and we have lots of amazing products to sell, but really we want you to leave after the hour going, oh, what a cool bit of information that I learned today. And honestly, why I have Bert on every single month is because I always learn something new when he comes on. There is something that I go, oh, didn't know that. And it's really good to learn something new, because whether you put it into your life as a new habit right away, all of those seeds will develop eventually. I sometimes find that, like, wow, I'm doing this now, but I remember I learned it 10 years ago. It's never too late to start new habits. And one is something interesting that I learned with one of my teachers. So, good morning, Bert.
Good morning.
Exciting start, huh? Okay. So, all right. So, how are you doing, Bert? You doing good this morning?
Yes.
All
Yeah.
right, great. Yes, I have to admit, the owner of the radio station commented yesterday to me. He's like, Bert is very lively and always in such a great mood for so early, with your California timing. So that is true. I don't know if someone woke me up that early and put me right on to a live radio show if I would be that sprightly. So thank you for always being positive and informative and such a great mood. So thank you.
I look forward to our discussions so much. And it's really, I think one of the things that's really fun for me is that you and your family live the lifestyle.
Oh,
We're not just talking about it. We're talking, I mean, you're explaining, how your daughter had gone through the hypothalamus rebalancing, and the joy that you have as a mother and daughter with that. You talk about using the deodorant, about using the super circulation,
I
and who
pretty much
has.
use everything now. It was funny because something like, we keep all our supplements in buckets. And for the summer, Matt usually stays home with the kids, and I stay with my full-time employee at the store more. And I'm like, what's missing in my bucket? Like, I have the super silica, the cell power, the vitamin C, and I'm going through and super circulation, and I'm like, the greens, the greens. I really do try to take all the things I carry, and I know you have a lot more things that we'll keep adding as we go, definitely. But I do want to mention one thing, Bert, that I thought was funny. So I'm taking a course. I try to take courses throughout my life, whether I use them 100% or 1% in my coaching practice. I just try to learn something new every day. So this new Ayurveda course, the teacher spends about 10 minutes before each lesson with a meditation. And during the meditation, he talks about not using your mind and just really just using, your inner guidance. And I'm like laughing. Could you imagine, the normal universities, you sitting down with like a couple hundred students sitting there, and then the teacher says, okay, we're going to do a meditation. And during this class, I don't want you to use your mind. It's just going to be like, really? Okay, that's a little weird. But on that note, I do want to continue the breath work to start the session, okay? So, for any new listeners, thank you for spending time with us this morning. I really do enjoy doing a couple rounds of breath work before we begin each show. It helps us just calm down, stops worrying about the traffic or what happened this morning, and just kind of helps you focus on what you're doing right now, living in the moment. So, sir, if you could just breathe, count to 5 for us so we can focus. So let's exhale out anything that feels uncomfortable in the body. So let's just do 2 times since the time is flying by, okay?
Okay, without holding the breath in the
Yeah,
middle?
we won't hold. We'll just use our nose only,
Right.
and we'll breathe in for 5 and out for 5, 2 rounds.
2 rounds. Are
Okay?
you ready, folks? Stand
All
by.
right, everyone. Let's
Okay.
exhale out.
Let it
Drop your
all out.
shoulders. Relax.
Get your nose ready. Begin in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Out. 2, 3, 4, 5. In. 2, 3, 4, 5. Out. 2, 3, 4, 5.
Thank you very much. And the one other thing I want to mention before we begin is that I do have a Mother's Day special at the Wellness Center. So our Detox Day $99 special is pretty incredible as it is. You get a full hour massage and 2 other services for $99. But for Mother's Day, any gift certificates or bookings for any moms out there, and you can bring your guests, you get 1 extra service. So that could be a health coaching by myself, add the sound PEMF bed, which is incredible. We added 3 more programs that are unbelievable. So definitely check it out online, joannesnutritionworld.com. And again, we can do gift certificates or you can book online right away. So that is a really great special. And we can have host 4 people at a time if you like to make it something special with a family or friends. All right. There we go, Bert. So I did all that advertising, the business part of the job. So, Bert, I was hoping we could talk about longevity and anti-aging today. Would that work for you?
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right. So I've noticed there's a trend. I don't know, it's because everyone's just so used to scrolling and seeing 3,000 things within 30 seconds. But a lot of people are like using a number. So how about we call this show 10 ways to optimize longevity? Does that sound good? And I think
Okay.
between the 2 of us, we can easily get to 10, right?
Okay, sounds good.
All right. And I know what my favorite one is. So can I start and then you tell everyone why? All
Okay.
right. Super silica. Okay. So super silica is definitely my favorite. Bert is going to give you more of the specifics why, but my favorite testimonial, and this goes back, I think, 2 years. I'm not really sure. So it was definitely during COVID. And I unfortunately got the hair loss that people still today are complaining about. And Bert said so casually on the show, Joanne, just up your servings of super silica to 4 servings a day. And I was like, oh, because at that point I was only doing 1 and I was doing the cell power for the other drinks. And so I increased it that day, and it was a little amazing to me. And I'm trying to be as truthful as possible to all my clients and customers, but that next morning not 1 piece of hair fell out, and that is the absolute truth. And I was getting clumps. I didn't want to wash my hair, I didn't want to brush my hair, because I was just, and I didn't have COVID. I did not have it as far as I knew. So yes, so Bert, tell my listening audience why it is so incredible.
Well, super silica was discovered 66 years ago, and it had been our #2 seller because cell power was discovered before that in 1949, so it's 75 years. But now super silica is the #1 selling product. It passed up everything else just a few years ago, and I think it's because uh, it has to do with the level of poisons and pollution. So really what's causing the hair to break off and people losing so much hair is that there's so much poisons in the body, and the body requires silica to protect us from those poisons. Does that make sense? It's
Absolutely makes sense. And I love how you say it. It's so simple. Yep.
it's a protective thing. And so what happens is that in order to keep us alive, and we may be saying, oh, I wish my hair didn't break off and that I wasn't losing it, or that my nails are stronger, or, fingernails, toenails, whatever it is. But your body is saying, I'm just borrowing the silica from that so I can put it to something that's life-saving. We may not be aware of it, but somewhere in their body, there's a poison attacking, and the the most effective thing is the essential trace mineral silica, which is 1 part silica, 2 parts oxygen, is what makes a flexible living silica. And so that is what the body uses to protect us from aluminum, lead. It even starts helping to get the body prepared to get rid of mercury. So, there's tin, nickel, arsenic, bromine, fluorine, chlorine, all these things that are in our bodies. And when it reaches a certain level, the body will start borrowing. Now, if it can't get what it needs from the hair or the nails to protect us from the poisons, then it will start borrowing silica from the veins or the intestinal walls, or, the arteries, the heart, especially from any nerve cells. So, it starts basically super silica helps replace it easier and faster than anything else that I'm aware of. I mean, we can all start in our diet, start eating more silica rich foods, but super silica will help us get back to a state of balance, of having enough silica very, very quickly.
Yes, and that I think is the trick to do that therapeutic amount where you see that your body is back in balance, and then you can, like you mentioned, make sure that your diet includes those silica-rich foods because those are good for you in general. Like whenever we talk about molecules that are important for the body, no coincidence, it comes from the most healthiest foods that we should consume either way. So I love that. But today, a lot of people, when we talk about anti-aging and longevity and living the optimal life, I always say a quality life because we don't know their number. Some people are just like, oh, I just want to live to 90 or 100 or 83, whatever the number is. But I'm like, why don't we focus on quality in each moment versus worrying about the number, right? So a lot of people use their hair and their nails as guidance of how healthy they are. So, and I love your analogy. Can you tell the listeners about your straw analogy? Because that's really what sold me on that, and I can repeat it to my customers easily. Can you tell them about the straw philosophy?
Well, yes, each strand of hair is it's almost like those little straws we had as kids that were filled with the flavored sugar, the little pixie sticks. Is that you had this wax straw, and what's inside of it? I mean, that's how our strand of hair actually is that it has a lot of silica in the inside of that hair strand. Now, women understand this, and teenage girls understand this, is that you have to trim off the split ends of your hair every couple of months, right? And it's from the ends. Why is it from the ends? It's because the follicle that holds the strand of hair into the skin is like a little mouth, and it's sucking all of the silica through that strand of hair, through the straw. And it's kind of like if you have a smoothie or any kind of drink and you're using a straw, when you get to the very end of your smoothie in the glass, as you're sucking that through the straw, if where the straw gets empty is at the very end of the straw. It's the place that's furthest away from your mouth. So that's how it works on the hair. So if it gets all the way down to the skin level, everybody says my hair's falling out, and we use that over and over again. But the more that we say that, the more that we're not really understanding is that the hair is breaking off. It's like a split end that breaks when it's empty. So if the body pulls all the silica out of that strand of hair, it just breaks off wherever it is. That's why, in the past few years, I'm sure you know a lot of women and probably some men that have lost their eyelashes, and they're saying falling out, but they're actually breaking off. And the same thing with eyebrows. People are losing that because the body has that as a backup to store silica very, very close to the eyes, because the eyes require silica for good vision. The macula is the part of the body that has the highest concentration of silica of any cell in the body.
You haven't mentioned that before, but that makes so much sense. And as we know, like you mentioned, bromides and other poisons that come into the body that the supersilica is trying to get rid of. Bromides are everywhere now. I think I already mentioned to you on the last month's show where I think it's really sad that, yes, they did ban foods that have the brominated oils in it, and the Skittles and the colored Gatorade, and the Pedialyte, but they're giving them to 2027 to take them off the shelf. Oh, so they're killing us now and giving us tumors, but you're giving them 2 years to take them off the shelf. I'm just, woohoo, really insane. So I'm hoping if I keep telling people, they'll spread the news. But I just went to Sam's Club, and the carts were loaded with that type of Gatorade. So obviously, I need to spread the word faster. Right. But so I understand now, because if you have all those poisons, the first thing that will go is the side of your eyebrows. And I have noticed with the super silica, that's also improving for me. I definitely, even though I do get them waxed, Bert, there's more hair there than there was a few years ago. So yes. I don't want hair on my mustache though, okay? All right. So just just where it belongs.
Hey, the losing the hair at the ends of the eyebrows away from the nose has often been tied to zinc deficiencies. But what's interesting about that is that your body will use zinc to help get rid of some really serious poisons itself. Cadmium. Cadmium is the most plentiful poison in the human body, and it's so damaging. The average adult in the United States, when they're tested, they have over 14 pounds of cadmium in their body.
That
And
is insane.
not
14
not
pounds?
yep, and not a single milligram of that is safe. So,
Wow.
you know,
And Bert, no one talks about this. So again, like I mentioned, Bert brings up things on each show. So this would be one that I didn't know. So cadmium, yes, very bad poison, but how many of us are discussing it? I don't discuss it. I will start discussing it. But these are things that if it's not in our everyday dialogue, we forget. But there are poisons we're responsible for that we're consuming or in our workplace, and there's others that are just in our environment that we're not aware of. May I ask, can we talk about cadmium a little more so I can learn more? Where, other than doing the super silica, how can we protect ourselves? I know you love the ion foot detox. Does that help with the cadmium?
oh, definitely. Yeah, what's interesting is that if you look at a periodic table of the elements, that gives you the real clue. Is um, the cadmium is right next to silver. So when you do supplemental silver, ionic or colloidal silver, that helps push out more cadmium than probably anything. And then the zinc is right above cadmium on the periodic table, and silver's right to the side. So if you have enough zinc and enough silver, it pushes out cadmium the fastest. When I was talking about the bromine and chlorine and fluorine, what even does more than silica? Silica will help and it gets it started, and the body knows it's plentiful, right? It's in the skin, hair, nails. You've got silica in the brain, so you know it will borrow as much as it can from each area until it gets all the way down to borrowing it from each cell on the supersilica. But when you talk about the fluorine, chlorine, and bromine, what pushes it out the best is a good good iodine. So
Oh,
iodine
okay.
is what will do that. And again, it's on that periodic table, is that iodine is really heavy compared to bromine, fluorine, and chlorine, but it's in the same column. So as you get enough iodine in the body, it will push out all of those other poisons. Very, very, very poison. I mean, it's sad to think that not only do we have chlorine in the drinking water and fluoride, but we've got chloramine now, which doesn't leave the water. It's almost like a forever chemical. Is that chloramine is what the water companies now are using, because when sunlight hits a reservoir of drinking water, all the chlorine gets dissipated by the sunlight, but the chloramine just stays right in that water. And then when we consume it, chloramine is a combination of chlorine and ammonia together.
Okay, I
So
do hope that my water filtration system takes care of that. I know it takes care of tetrazine. Um, do you know if normal water filtration systems, like the big tank systems that have the three-layer bypass, does that take the chloramine out? Do you know?
most of them don't, because we have that whole house water system, and it neutralizes a lot of things. But a lot of times people, their greatest exposure to the chloramine is when they take a shower. And so you can get, I think it's a Japanese company that sells like a $130 water filter that you put in your shower. You're thinking, oh, that's really expensive. But what it uses to completely neutralize the chloramine is vitamin C powder right in the
Oh
shower
my
filter.
God, that is so cool.
So what can we do for the rest of our body as we're exposed to that, is try to get as much good vitamin C complex into our body, because that will allow the body to start neutralizing and breaking down and getting rid of that chloramine. Now, I know you were asking about cadmium, so I didn't want to get off topic so much and
Well,
miss.
that's interesting too. The other one, yes.
Yeah, there was a website by a science group here in California that was talking all about chloramine. And then luckily, I don't just bookmark the things on the internet, because I know that I can read it today and it could be gone tomorrow, that somebody has just pushed it off or blocked it. A lot of the really big tech companies will just completely block websites. So I try to, if I find something really interesting, I try to print it out hard copy, because that may be the only way that I'll be able to find it again.
Right.
But with cadmium, the greatest source of that as far as getting into our body is that we breathe it in through the air, and it's a cadmium dust. It's a heavy metal, but it's used for brake pads and um, brake shoes on everything that has a wheel. So when a plane lands and they apply the brakes, cadmium goes all over the runway and into the air.
Oh,
When a bus has to stop, when it was semi truck with motorcycles and most scooters and cars and trucks and everything else, is that it squeezes it down, and of course it's losing some dust as it's stopping your car, and then that dust goes on the street and up on the sidewalk. We can't necessarily see that, but when a breeze comes by, it's in the air. And if we don't have enough zinc and silver in our body, when we breathe it in, it goes right in the cells and it stays there. You
ooh.
know, so it's like a few grams per day until after 30, 40 years of just walking down the sidewalk or just being outside, we have that 14 to 15 pounds of cadmium, which is so damaging to all the organs. I mean, one of the things that supplement companies and food companies must test through a third-party independent lab is four things. Now, it's not that you shouldn't be testing more, but
Right.
government mandate is that you have to test how much cadmium is in the food or the supplements, how much lead, how much mercury, and how much arsenic. So
Okay.
those four things. And if it's over certain levels, in California, you have to then put a big warning on there, from Prop 65 that got passed in our state. And that warning ends up going to the whole country because people are not going to distinguish which state they're shipping things to. So, if it's really, really clean, it'll be so low. But cadmium is damaging. And if you have enough zinc and silver in your body, you still breathe it in like everybody else, but then you exhale it. Why?
Okay.
Because the zinc and the silver are taking up all the spots that are supposed to in the cells. And so there's no place for the cadmium to go, and it goes right back out. And that's really the only way we can do it. Maybe we've talked about this before, but so many people will say, it's just so polluted. It's just so polluted. I just want to move to some distant tropical island, or
And be in a bubble.
and that way I'll get away from the pollution. And there's no spot left on the entire planet that isn't polluted. So you can't move away from it. And then people go, well, I guess, what's the use? Why even try to be healthy? Why try to do anything good for my body? Because, I'm just gonna be polluted. It's like, no, if you have all of the good elements and all the good minerals, then it will push the bad toxic metals and toxic chemicals out of your body and then block it from coming back in. You're still exposed like everybody else, but it's almost like you have a protective bubble around you.
Yeah, you have all the tools that your body needs. And again, we say this each month that the body is miraculous. We just need to always nourish it and give it the tools it needs to do what it's designed to do. And Bert, you're making me think, like, I watch National Geographic. They have this new show about octopuses. It's incredible. If you haven't seen it, it's absolutely mind-blowing about these octopuses. And as they're showing them in Indonesia, in this remote area that's not near any people, they show bottles being on the bottom of the ocean floor and some garbage, and it broke my heart because I'm like here in the middle of nowhere and they're filming these, and then all of a sudden the octopus is laying its eggs in an old Coca-Cola bottle. It's like, oh Lord, oh my gosh. But yeah, you're right. It's there, so we need to just arm ourselves to be the best we can each day. I do take iodine, and I am a fan of silver. I don't use that every day, though. Is that something you usually suggest to your patients every day? Or is just like I only use silver when I feel like my body's off balance, like not feeling well? Or do you use it?
That's what we do in our family is when we're not
Okay.
feeling well. And it's amazing that sometimes to have the silver be enough for what you're going through when you're not feeling well. I'll tell a person that they need to go ahead and drink a 2-ounce bottle of the liquids silver per day.
Yeah,
And they're
I
like,
I
oh,
do the
well,
same thing, and they roll their eyes at me like, "What? I'm gonna turn blue." And I'm like, "Okay, it was one man, not a great example." But people
well,
still use that example. Yes.
yeah, but it's not that. A lot of times people say, well, that's going to cost a fortune if I drink a bottle a day for 7 days. And I'm like, but you have to keep the silver levels up higher. I know I don't do enough silver in a year, but if you do keep silica levels and silver and zinc and selenium and iodine, all of those things high enough, then your body is protected from the uh, pollutants taking up residence in your body. But if we don't have enough, it's just like anything else. If it's not enough, it's not going to do the job.
Okay,
It
and I
just
do want to
won't.
mention two quick things to our listeners, not to kind of
Hmm.
talk more negative, but if you are taking a multi, Most companies that make multis put very few minerals and trace minerals in their formulas, or they're not the best sourcing. So definitely do your research when you're taking a multi. The other thing too is that I just lost my train of thought. Oh, our food supply. Our food supply, as far as minerals go, not the best. So you really want to maybe, whether it be your home garden where you're nourishing, like Burt has a product to help nourish the soil better so that way your crops are better. So just keep that in mind that minerals, hard to get these days. Is that true, Bert? That's what I tell everyone. Hopefully, I'm right.
Yeah, no, it really is true. But when people are concerned about drinking distilled water because they say, "Oh, it doesn't have any minerals in it. Where am I going to get my minerals?" I always say, "Well, do you eat any fresh fruits and vegetables?" I'm talking fresh, and second choice would be frozen fruits and vegetables. But with fresh fruits and vegetables, that's where you're going to get most of your minerals and your trace minerals. But if a person is really concerned about it, they go, "No, that's not so much in my diet." And you find out, well, what are you eating if you're not eating fresh fruits and vegetables? But it's canned stuff or
Oh, yeah.
or whatever. I mean, you have to have a lot more minerals for any sugars that you have, and there are sugars in everything. We're saying that 86% of all packaged foods or anything that has a nutrition facts label on it. 86% of everything in the grocery store is loaded with sugars. The other day I was talking to somebody and they were using the little stevia packets. They go, "Oh no, stevia is so much healthier." And I go, "Yeah, but to make it sweeter, because the stevia is not that sweet on its own. To make it sweeter, the companies will hide sugars into that little packet." And they go, "Oh no, no, no. This one says it's, this really healthy stevia and it's in this little packet." And I said, "Well, look at what the first ingredient is, dextrose." And they go, "Oh no." And I said, there are over 60 different names of sugar that food companies use to try to hide the fact that it is. And they know that everyone seems to understand that the order in which the ingredients are means how much of it there is, right? The number one ingredient could be 50 or 60% of the product. And when you get all the way down to the very last one, it could just be a trace. It could be a fraction of a percent. So in order to hide it, because they don't want sugar to come to the top of the list, the companies will go ahead and list 8 different sugars. So it's all way down in the middle and towards the bottom. But when you combine them all together, it's number one. It's number one. People are
Absolutely.
just
And
eating refined sugar.
yep, and a pure little organic concentrated stevia that's actually good quality, a tiny little bottle is about $40 now. So I always tell my customers that if you are really desperate, like you won't drink your herbal tea without a little kick or something, fine, but know the truth. Like a tiny little bottle, the real stuff, which, like you mentioned, is a different sweet than what they're producing in those packets, it's like $40 now. So, and that shows you right there what's real and what's not full of starch. And, it's, yes, unfortunately. So we're going to call this number 2 on our longevity. Okay. So to just really be weary of all the hidden sugars. There are past shows that Bert and I have discussed all the different names for hidden sugars. But again, your tongue really will dictate to you the truth. So if you take a bite of something, no matter what the label says, okay, if it's sweet, then put it down. and and of course I'm not talking about myself because I've confessed I'm a chocoholic, but it's really dangerous for your body to consume too much starch and sugar no matter what diet plan you follow. We all agree. I really have not met anyone in the nutrition or dietetics business that is like, yay, do sugar, go, go, go. No one. You really, and be careful of the food industry because they love misguiding us and making us think a little bit's okay, but you do 10 grams for breakfast, 10 grams for a snack, 10 grams for lunch, 10 grams for a snack, 10 grams for dinner, 10 for that little dark chocolate almonds before bed, and then whoo, you did, 80 grams without even knowing. So, yep, sneaks up on you, Bert.
So number two is beware of and cut down sugar. I like that.
Yes.
Yeah, for
And
longevity. Did I tell you which it's now been almost 4 months that I've been eating a completely different way?
well, you keep mentioning the whole lentil soup idea. So are you going vegetarian or what is
No,
the
no, 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 no,
Oh,
no.
okay, because I was gonna start crying because
No, no, no.
so
No,
so what is
what
the new
happens?
food way?
Well, there's a way to neutralize the sugars that get into your body, and that is by having at least 20% of the carbohydrates that you consume be fiber. Uh,
Yes, love that.
insoluble and soluble fiber. It's not just for elimination, which is what people think, oh, yeah, old
Right.
people eat prunes and all these things about getting your fiber. But it's the fact that the fiber will actually neutralize. So when I have a high fiber whole wheat bread that's fresh baked at a bakery, I go and buy all this stuff. And sometimes I'll have 4 or 5 slices a day. That's completely different, but it's loaded with flax seeds and chia seeds and everything else. It's like 23% of the carbs are fiber. So, and if you can get the whole seeds, and I see them all the way through the bread everywhere, is that as you're eating it, the whole seed goes down, it goes to where the microbiome is, and it actually feeds the good bacteria in your body, which then allows that to produce the short chain fatty acids that your body needs, is produced right inside of your own gut if you have sufficient fiber, and it'll neutralize it. So that means that uh, the lentils have almost 40% fiber. So I'm able to put that with some barley so that it's a little bit more fun to eat. And the barley only has 10% of the carbs or fiber. But when you have the 40 and 10 and how much is in the soup, because we make it ourselves, well, my wife makes it for me. Okay, I better
I knew
say
that
that.
was the truth. One day I'll have her on.
But when we put that together, the whole thing is over 20%. So does that mean that you can't have any sweets at all? I mean, as a rule, if you're not doing this um, healthy fiber plan, which gets rid of pre-diabetes naturally, it gets rid of diabetes. It brings down the A1C on blood sugar better than any other program, but it gets rid of completely what is the number one disease in the world. More people have this disease than anything else, is non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. So
Absolutely.
NAFLD. It's like 70% of people living on the planet, that includes all countries, have the non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, which eventually will destroy the liver. It's like people that say, I have cirrhosis of the liver and I've never had alcohol of any kind in my
Yep.
entire life. And it's because the wrong kinds of sugar with not enough fiber just destroys the liver, starts to destroy the kidneys, starts to destroy all of that. And the really sad part is that as long as it's legal to sell products stuffed with sugar and try to trick people into saying, oh no, there's not much sugar in this,
Yep.
it's going to be a problem, but the fiber can actually reverse it. So that means, and on this plan, you can have one dessert a day. Its idea is, well, you don't have dessert for breakfast, which is what a lot of people do,
Right, exactly.
and dessert for lunch and dessert for dinner. So you have it 3 or 4 times a day, but you can have one controlled portion of dessert per day. And I try to get one that is mostly fiber. So lately I've been, not every day, but a couple times a week, I'll have some macadamia nuts that have some chocolate. It's not the ones they sell just by itself, but
Oh yeah.
macadamia nuts have over 50% fiber of the carbs. So when you kind of weigh it out, it
Read that.
requires some calculations. I mean, you're saying you like chocolate, you can have some of that.
Yep.
And a lot of days I won't have any at all. And I'm getting to the point where I don't even like it. Somebody will offer to, and I go, oh no. And
Yeah.
I'm thinking, I honestly, the first part of any dietary change, and by diet, I'm not saying restricting what you're eating or reducing your calories. I'm just talking what is your meal plan? What is your diet? But the first part of it is trying to get used to that new way of eating. But then after a while, your body's so used to it, it's like, no thanks, I don't
Feels
want it.
good.
Yeah.
Well, Bert, coincidentally, this is what I speak about every day. So I have one thing that I'm kind of proud of through even almost 40 years of call weight fluctuations from a yoga teacher, triathlete to postmenopausal mom, whatever we call it. My sugars have always been really good, like almost perfect. And my trick has always been what I tell my customers: lots of fiber, lots and lots of fiber. And then you do that one dessert. Like I usually tell people, do it with your lunch because I want them to break that late night sweet habit on the couch. So I always say, if you really want like a macadamia nut, say I say a brownie or something, because I love the chocolate dip stuff, but now there's so many of those seed oils with those products. So I'm kind of thinking, let's make homemade stuff. It's a little easier. But it's like incredible. One, because when you're more mindful and you're allowed to have it, you don't even choose to have it anymore because, oh, I'm allowed to have it. So it's not so, ooh, you know? And if you have it with that nice big healthy meal, you don't feel that sugar spike or mood shift. And it's nice, usually people are more compliant when you give them that option. So we will call it. So this is Bert and I. So this will be number 3 is increase your fiber. And we are talking about from food. Okay. So let's really try. Now, of course, vegetables have lots of fiber and lots of nutrient molecules. But I know, like Bert mentioned, frozen, do frozen. I know our local Publixes have Greenwise Organic Frozen. They do a lot of buy one, get one frees, much more cost effective than sometimes getting fresh. So do what you can do where you're at. It's all good. But there are a lot of superfoods like lentils, like the macadamia nuts that naturally have great fats and great fiber, and they're filling and they feel carby, so you don't feel like you're, starving. And Bert mentioned a couple shows back about his homemade bread vendor. I don't think us locals have that amazing one, but I do have a sourdough girl that delivers to my store every other week, and she makes incredible organic stone ground sourdough bread that it feels therapeutic. You eat a piece of her bread and your belly just, instead of getting bloated and feeling terrible, it goes, wow, thank you. So yeah, I completely subscribe to what you're talking about, Bert. We're definitely in sync on that one. So
Well,
let's talk about the water next because we
okay.
only got 10 more minutes. So what are we at? Number 4 or 5?
4.
4. Okay, wow. Okay, so 4. I know you like my water trick, so you want to remind everyone what the water trick is?
Oh, I talk about that every single day now
I
because
love it.
people will say, "Oh, I just don't have water." And I go, because on the super silica in the cell power bottle, it says how many drops to put into 16 ounces. So I've now been saying, I don't know if I need to change the label and say put into 8 ounces because it's so easy. I haven't had anyone scared off of being hydrated when it's 8 ounces of purified or distilled water every hour on the hour.
Yeah,
And
it's
so that
nothing.
means, instead of the 12 drops of silica and 60 ounces, you just do 6 drops.
Yep.
So people get used to 2 drops of cell power and 8 ounces or 6 drops of super silica. But every hour on the hour, it means that not only you are hydrated at a very, very constant rate, it's almost that IV drip. I mean,
Yeah,
you're getting it in.
exactly. It's
And
like
so,
tiny.
it's so easy.
Yep. And for you caretakers out there, one, oh, God bless you guys, because wow, the world would not survive without the caretakers. So if you have someone that really has a hard time drinking the water, if you show them those old-fashioned little juice glasses that they remember, and just be like, okay, this is only the amount of water you have to drink. They don't get intimidated by it. They'll welcome it because they're worried about urination or soiling their pants. They're very nervous about water consumption. Okay, so just show them those cute little glasses. You can buy them at the dollar store, and then they're not intimidated, and then their body will get healthier with some more hydration. So,
Well, and as they do the 8 ounces per every waking hour, and if they can put super silica, 4 servings, that's only the first 8 little teeny tiny glasses. So it's only the first 8 hours you're awake. That's half the day.
yep.
And then after that, you can just go with regular water or minerals in your water, whatever. But if you do that, we're finding that in less than 6 weeks, a person's bladder is completely reconditioned.
Wow. Okay.
From-
Did everyone just hear Bert say that one more time, please? Because
yeah, yeah,
a lot of my listeners are older and this is a big concern.
yeah, is that the bladder without enough silica and enough water, because you have to have those two together, but without it, the bladder becomes hard. So when a person has a leaking bladder, or even tying into UTIs, or men with the bladder and prostate are so connected. But what happens is if you get water on a really even basis and you do that every day, 6 weeks may sound like a long time, but it goes by really quickly when you're just focusing on having that 8 ounces of water every hour, and do the 4 servings of super silica. Usually 5 to 5.5 weeks, but before 6 weeks, the bladder is now like a balloon that can stretch. Okay, and the wall of the bladder, the muscles are stronger, and so it's able to do what it's supposed to do, which is to close off. The reason we even have a urinary bladder is so that we can choose the time that we want to go urinate if I
Yeah.
rest them. But if it's not working, even if you say, well, my bladder isn't working, it's just that it's become hardened. It won't stretch out like a balloon. It doesn't have the muscle strength to close off the exit valve.
That is so interesting. And I'm going to add, so my father-in-law is a urologist, very popular among this crowd. And he was telling me the other night that sometimes when he goes to check out people's bladder that are complaining that they can't urinate or urinate fully, they have such calcification that sometimes it will block the urethra. And so dehydration is going to cause this nightmare. Okay. So if you want to avoid the emergency rooms and calcification, the body needs moisture to do all its magic. Okay. So that's such a simple thing. So please watch out for teas and coffees and drinks that are dehydrating, and get that 8 ounces of water into your body each hour. So
I can't thank you enough for sharing that with me as to how you were talking to people doing the true wellness diet, and you were saying, well, it's really simple, do this. So we're going to rewrite part of our workbook
well,
as to
thank you.
as to
I
where it
try
says,
I try to keep everything
oh,
common sense in my life, Bert, because I'm like, if I don't keep it common sense, I'm going to forget it if it's too difficult. So let's go to another one. So we have told a lot of listeners about circulation. So if the body can't bring nutrients from head to toe and all around, then there's a problem. Okay. So I love your super circulation. So why is circulation important? And why is it great for longevity, optimizing life?
well, the number one thing, because we can't go more than just a few minutes without oxygen, is that circulation helps oxygen get to the cells. But the thing that has to go through the cell membrane for every cell is you need to have water, oxygen, fuel, which would be their, fat, protein, carbohydrates, or, obviously a combination of those. That's the fuel. And then nutrients, which would be the vitamins and the CoQ10 and all of the nourishing things. And then the messenger hormones. So if your cell membrane is not, doesn't have enough electricity, then it's like, well, I may accidentally let some poisons in and it'll kill me as a cell, right? So it just kind of locks down. But you have to get messenger hormones in. Type 2 diabetes means that the insulin is being made by the pancreas, being transferred through the bloodstream. And then when it gets to the cell membrane, it still has to go through the cell. But if the cell membrane is blocking the insulin, that's the type 2 diabetes. So that's what has to get in. Now, circulation, the other part of it is that without good circulation, we're not going to get rid of all of the waste product that's in the cell. So the cell poisons itself because it's like, somebody has come along and sealed up all the doors and windows of your house, and you're still producing trash can or trash bags full of stuff, but you can't get it out of the house. Pretty soon the whole
Right.
house is filled up with it. So
Exactly.
circulation is really, really important. Now, the lymphatic fluid, which is 4 times as many pints as the blood fluid, the lymphatic clear fluid is also for taking waste away, but it doesn't have anything to circulate except muscle movement. So if a person says, well, I really haven't done any exercise in so long, I don't even really walk very far, or I'm stuck in my chair, I'm stuck in my wheelchair, wherever it is, I just say, well, just raise your hands up, lower them back. Do that you can probably do it 200, 300, 500 times.
Yep.
And just that action will actually get the lymph going.
I love it. I have everyone when they're doing their ion foot detox do that, besides like a good breath work and then pushing up towards the ceiling to move that lymph. I love it. So, Bert, we got 3 minutes, okay? So I'm
Well,
gonna
we
add
need to 5. We have 5 on there.
well, we have 5? Yay! Okay. So I'm gonna say after circulation, okay, because you kind of reminded me. I'm gonna say the next one is exercise and outdoors. So any form of movement, it doesn't matter if it's gardening, walking, doing something outdoors. We're kind of really becoming these bodies that are stuck indoors. Go outside, touch nature, work with nature. Just make the sun your friend. Don't be scared of the outdoors, okay? All right, so you could do another tip, Bert. What do you think for number 7?
Oh, wow.
I'm putting on your spot.
Well, no, I'm just looking at this. We've got some good ones on there. For the first 6, we have increase our silica intake. Then number 2, cut sugar. 3, increase fiber. 4, keep hydrated. 5, improve circulation. That's pretty much blood circulation for 5. Number 6 is how we improve our lymphatic circulation, which is fun movement, outdoors, fresh air, sunshine.
Love it.
And number 7 for longevity is and pH balance. We have to help our body get back into the pH balance range, because that'll do more than
That, and in case we're leaving you on the edge, there's plenty of radio shows with me and Bert discussing pH balance, so go back to that. And also prayer, meditation, good sleep, and being with loved ones, just sharing with family and loved ones. Guys, have a great week. Bert, thank you so much. Bye.
You've been listening to Joanne's World of Nutrition, brought to you by Nutrition World. Joanne's Nutrition World. US 1 at Orange Avenue across from City Hall in the Crafts Square. This is WPSL, Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast, webcaster to the world, where the time right now is 11 o'clock.